Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday morning interview. My name is Dave Savage. I'm the CEO of Mortgage Coach. Every Tuesday, I am interviewing someone amazing. Sometimes it's a speaker, it's an author, it's a leader. I'm fortunate on today's call, I have both. I've got a coach and a speaker, and I also have an amazing top producer. And this is a top producer interview. Before we get into that, I did want to shine a light on the fact that we're taking our partnership with Darren Hardy to the next level. There's some very exciting things that we're going to be announcing on August 3rd. This is a call with myself and Darren. We're also going to invite a few top producers and leaders from the Mortgage Coach community, but we're going to be talking about something very unique, very special, where we are collaborating with Darren for the mortgage space for mortgage coaches. So don't miss this call. It's also a great call to bring your realtors to. We have sent an email out to everybody in the Mortgage Coach community, as well as we're posting this on all of our social channels. So join us August 3rd, 10 a.m. Pacific for an announcement and a special webinar with Mortgage Coach and myself, our Mortgage Coach and Darren Hardy. So to help me in today's interview, we have Michael Regan from Building Champions. Michael is an awesome coach. Every loan officer I know that gets coached by him just raves. Michael also speaks at sales rallies and throughout the industry. Michael, welcome to the call, and thanks for helping me with today's call.
Happy to be here, Dave. Always enjoy it. Love the Mortgage Coach community.
Right on, brother. Well, hey, thank you for the times that you've come in and just delivered your own keynote. I know towards the end of the year you always come in and help us close the year strong and open the year strong. This is an interview between the two. With you and I are interviewing this amazing top producer, so feel free to jump in anytime throughout the call.
Really looking forward to it, and really excited about being on the call with Kathryn today.
Right on. So Kathryn Pedersen is working with Michael, so Michael is her coach. So I thought, interviewing her, finding out what's special about her practice, who better to help me with that than her coach who's working with her. So Kathryn, welcome to the call, and thanks for making time for us.
Thanks, Dave. Great to be here. Always good to talk to you guys and be on a call with this great community.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. You are a top producer, and you use Mortgage Coach really well, and I'm looking forward to sharing your story with everyone. If you wouldn't mind, I know you've prepared some slides to kind of walk through what makes you special in your market. But before we get into those, if you don't mind just sharing kind of high level a little bit about your mortgage practice, what market you're in, and then we'll kind of get into your slides. Does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a mortgage banker and work with mostly locals and Steamboat. Steamboat's a fairly small town in Colorado and resort community, but it's a fun town to work in because we have a lot of people who are very excited to own property in this town, but it's also a difficult area to lend in because things can be so expensive. So it kind of gives you, hopefully that gives you kind of a preview into it. But and then here at my office, I've got 3 other people that work with me, a processor, a loan coordinator, and a junior loan processor. So that's kind of who's in our group at my office.
Got it. And then when you say it's a small market, just give us a feeling. I mean, what is the population of Steamboat?
We've got it at about 10. I've got a slide at the exact 10 to 12,000. We swell when we've got people in town up to like 40, including people who are visiting. But as far as year-round residents, we're pretty tiny. So less than, 20, 25,000 in the county.
Got it. So the county, 20,000, the city of Steamboat Springs, 10, 11,000. What percentage of your business is from that local community, versus, Colorado as a bigger whole or just outside of your market? What percentage is that market?
Yeah, we're at about 85% local in the county, and it depends on the time of year. Sometimes that goes up, goes down, but as we've kind of grown our database, we do some loans when they decide to buy an investment property in Denver or move to Denver. So that's been actually changing that a little bit as well.
Got it. Well, let's get into your slides. I want to make sure everybody knows your production level. As we do this interview, we want them to know, we want them to know who you are, what makes you successful. Why don't you start walking through that, but let's make sure we cover Well, it looks like you have production, so let's cover some of the details and let's get into it.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Thanks, Dave. All right, so I'm going to just kind of give you guys the basics on me. So here's a little bit about my 15 volume, just over 44 million, 160 loans. So everyone thinks I have a large loan size, but I really don't have that large of a loan size, depending on the comparison, of course. And then roughly where I'm at so far this year. And then again, like I said, 85%, 87% were properties in this county. And am listed in the top 1% of mortgage lenders. We also have this little fun thing here in Steamboat Best of the Boat. So I was voted Best of the Boat last 3 years, hoping to do it again for 16. Votes are open now, so we'll see. And was also inducted into the Chairman's Circle last year, which was about the top 6 at Bay Equity. And then as far as in the business, I've been in the business for a long time. I hate to even put those numbers down because it feels, I don't know how it's been that long. And then before that, I did commercial construction lending, all sorts of things. So I've been in the lending business since, sadly, the 90s. So you can see kind of an idea.
A long time.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Right?
So and then here's a little bit about the town. So roughly 12,000 in the population, county about 25. And it's a big county, so 2,300 square miles, so it goes all the way to the Wyoming border, but most of it is forest and things like that, really house people. And then just some kind of fun things. We have over 80 Winter Olympic athletes. I don't know if we have any summer, but I'll have to check on that. But more than any other U.S. town, so that's kind of a fun fact. So I think it's like 1 in 300 residents, or I mean, there's some crazy stat as far as year-round full-time people who've been in some sort of Olympic thing. 307 real estate agents, and which is low for mountain towns. And then also our market is about 50% cash, which doesn't really help me, but helps me with comps. So,
hey, real quick on that, knowing that cash is such a big competition, do you ever do kind of a mortgage versus cash analysis with Mortgage Coach, and how do you approach cash as a competition in your market?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'll talk a little later about the classes we give to real estate agents, and one of the things I always bring up in there is to just, if someone wants to do cash, even though they get so excited about cash purchases, is have them just talk to a lender quickly, preferably me, about looking at that strategy with their investment advisor. And yes, we can absolutely, we do send out Mortgage Coach, talk about the tax advantage of that and things like that in that real estate class, just to give those real estate agents a heads up to make sure they're thinking about that versus trying to get money out of it down the road, things like that. So yeah, we absolutely bring that up to our agents as well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think it would be interesting. And by the way, folks, it's always great to make these calls as interactive as possible. So please, in your GoToMeeting control panel, you can ask questions or use the chat feature. Would be curious for anybody else on the call that is in a market where they're competing with cash a lot. I would love to know how big of a pain point that is for the Mortgage Coach community. Please let us know if you're competing with cash. And then, of course, if you are, and you are doing a total cost analysis to show how you kind of tell that story and help families make an informed decision, even feel free to share a total cost analysis. I think that's, let's see how big of a topic that is, but we'll decide whether we go deeper on that based on the feedback in GoToMeeting control panel. So right on, keep it going, Kathryn.
All right, great. All right, so then also I, would be crazy not to bring up my wonderful family. So I've got 2 girls, 11 and 7 now, and a wonderful husband who helps me and he doesn't work here. He helps me at home and is a very smart guy as well, especially with the numbers side. So I'm pretty lucky that that's what I have in my family. And then as far as kind of what I want to go through today is just some small market strategies. I've had to do things a little bit differently, I think, than people in larger markets do. And some of that is, has brought me some good success, but I've had to be a little bit creative in how I do that. So this is just kind of a quick thing I'm going to go through is obviously in a small town we have to build deep, strong, lasting relationships because I'm going to know these people for 20 years. And that involves not only the real estate community, but just the community as a whole, friends, who I run into every day at the store. Also, in a small town, professionalism and consistency is key, because if I don't send someone something, I'm going to see them at the grocery store, or I'm going to see them out, or they're going to be coaching my kid. So really, I have to be 100% all the time. And then I also have to effectively manage a lot of realtor relationships. I have probably a lot more realtor partners than people maybe in other markets do, just because there's less deals. There's more deals, but smaller capture. So basically, there's not one agent doing a whole lot of stuff. We have a lot of agents doing a small number, and that kind of has to have a wider reach. I also do focus on investment advisors, attorneys, all of that, because I need really a whole bunch of different pillars that are all working together. And sometimes I'll get one person who comes in that's been referred from 6 different people, which is a little hard to track. But I do my best on my tools for Michael, and I have to send him every so often. So, and then as far as sharpening the tool, really a lot of that's coaching, but I really need to stay on my game and make sure I'm keeping up with the markets and things like that, always working to get better. And then the big one for me that I, again, kind of realized a shift in myself and my business was when I started to seek mentors, relationships outside of my community. So I'll go through that a little bit as well. So this is what I was talking about before, Dave, as far as those classes. So we do kind of a full range of continuing ed classes that they get CE credit for. So I've just kind of listed those out: Mortgage 101, 102 USDA. So those are all classes that we provide and use Mortgage Coach tools as we deliver those classes to the agents. So that's something that's helped build agents and build that, kind of referral source. Also, I go to a ton of events. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, give us a feel for how many agents you have that you work with. How many realtors are you working with on a monthly or every other month basis, just to give us a feel for that?
This morning I was looking at some kind of stats, and so far I think the most I've closed with an agent this year is like 3. So we work with probably 20 to 30 agents fairly closely, which is a lot, and I'm totally aware I'd love to get that down. But when you've got some pretty strong agents doing 5 and 10 deals a year, you're getting a good portion of their business, especially when you consider the cash piece of it. So yeah, so we've got but ultimately I know the names of every agent in this town, which is 340 or whatever it is. So there's not really an agent that I don't know or haven't worked with at some point in the past.
Got it. So everybody, let's think about that for a second. So there's 340 agents in your market. You know them all by name. Based on what you said, 20 to 30 agents, it sounds like 10% of them are referring business to you on a regular basis. Is that right?
Yeah, and I would say I get 100% of a lot of agents, but you have to realize that might be 100% of 2. So yeah, but I would say that 20 to 30 is the majority.
Okay, 20 to 30 regular. By the way, how many agents do you think you are, the go-to, where either you're getting 100% of their business or you're their #1 lender? How many realtors would you put in that bucket?
I would say probably 40 to 60.
Okay, so I mean, wow. So think about that, folks. In a marketplace, that means you're really at about 20% of the market. You are the go-to lender. So that's impressive. Make note of that, everyone. By the way, Michael, anything you think we should pull out of that? Just part of my goal with having you on this call is to make this valuable and actionable for the Mortgage Coach community. Any color you want to add to that, or any way to make that takeaway kind of actionable for everybody?
Yeah, Dave, you and I have been influenced by a common quote that many folks on the call are familiar with. It goes something like this: in my market, there are enough agents who want to do business my way to not worry about the ones who don't. Kathyrn really has a unique market that I think a lot of participants on the call can relate to, where In fact, in her market, that may not always be true. In fact, the fact that she knows each and every one of those 340 agents by name, if she bumps into them at Safeway on Saturday, they're pausing to say hello. That's a really unique environment to work in, and for her to have a 20% active participation rate is really incredible, and it's a testament to her recognizing that that for her, that approach is not being able to give equal attention to everyone. It's recognizing the appropriate level of attention to give to those who are in alignment with what she does, while still recognizing I may have to work with each and every one of you in this market at some point. That's a delicate balance. She just doesn't have the luxury of walking away from folks who may be active in her pipeline in the future. Kathryn, my question to you would be, these are some of the strategies that have helped deepen the relationship. Maybe back that up a step. What have been some of the ways that you've been able to take a visibility relationship and move it towards someone that you're truly developing trust with? What have been some ways in which you've built that bridge with some of
and I would say it depends on the how long I have, but some of it is just kind of being in their face a little bit. So for instance, if we're dealing with the purchase side and they're the listing agent, calling them more frequently, trying to kind of bring them into the system a little bit, making sure that, hey, I have a class this week. It'd be great if you could be there because this question came up. Or, those kind of little things that slowly get them built in. We go to the offices a lot as well, so I always try to, when I'm walking around, hit certain agents every single time, and that's kind of helps build that trust over time. Coffees, lunches, all of that stuff is stuff we do.
So folks, I want everybody to think about what you're hearing so far. And again, some folks on this call are in small markets, and they can completely relate to you. And some of you are on much bigger markets. And I would just make connect the dots for anybody who's in a big market. You know what? There's a bunch of small markets within your big market, and lots of times, when I see loan officers, not achieving their goals, it's because they're not niching themselves enough. To Michael's point, there's enough people in your market that will do business the way you want to do. Have a niche, be really focused around it. And part of the Kathryn's magic is that she's in this small market. She's obviously a perfect fit. As she continues to go through this, her slides, she's going to unpack things that make her so successful. But I just think I actually didn't realize coming into the call that, you got 20% of a market. That's incredible in terms of, having the realtor relationships within your marketplace. 20% of them know you, like you, trust you, and you're their go-to lender. So pretty cool. Looking forward to figuring out exactly how you've done that. Keep it rolling.
Thanks. All right. So, and we also do attend our MLS meetings, which used to be weekly, which I was pretty lucky. They've changed them to monthly, but I'm there every single time. I don't miss one unless I am out of town or some huge emergency has come up. So I'm there every time, so they see me every week. But then also we're in the meetings, we're at their offices, we're doing the classes, we're at realtor events. So I just wanted to bring that up too, because a lot of people don't take advantage of what's already out there, and I think that is just that consistency shows to them that you're at your place of work every day, you're working every day, and you're consistent with what you do. So
yeah, and you're out there, you're visible. Part of your strategy is clearly how involved you are in the local community.
Yeah.
Hey, Kathryn, before you move forward, back up a slide for us real quick, if that's available in your controls. You talk about we also do calls. I get the luxury of seeing your call trackers, and let me tell you folks, if you're listening, one of Kathryn's secrets to her success is I get a tracker from her every single week. And I've got to tell you, that's rare, Dave. I get a lot of people who talk about setting goals, being motivated to make calls, tracking their calls. Kathryn actually does it, puts the results on paper every week and uploads them for us to review. And so, Kathryn, my question for you is, give a glimpse to those on the call today at what a typical week looks like in terms of the calls that you're making to deepen those relationships with those realtors.
Yeah, so there's definitely a few different things that we do. Obviously, the update calls on the in process. Some of those are automatic, and some of them, obviously, we have emails as well. I don't count the automatic ones, though, just so you know. It's interesting to have a coach on your call. You guys should all try this. And then second is we just, kind of do some proactive calling. There's some people I call about weekly. There's some people I call every so often. So we've got that we go through, and I can give you the whole schedule, but it basically is, Mondays we're looking at, calling one group, Tuesdays a different group, Wednesdays, etc. So that's kind of, the hour of calls about every day. I also try to hit my pre-qual group about every day, but it's, for instance, Mondays are leads, and so different days, different things. Now, obviously, some days that varies. If I could be as consistent as I would like to be, it'd be crazy, but we all know that that doesn't always happen. So, but we're definitely spending some time every day making those phone calls.
Well, Kathryn, that's really the point that I wanted you to highlight is a lot of folks would look at a $44 million producer who's well on our way to $50 million this year, and they would say, yeah, how many of those calls is she really making a week? And the answer is you are proactively and intentionally blocking out time each week to make outbound dials. And when you do that, it minimizes the amount of inbound reactive fires that you have to put out. We'll always have some of that, but you've really done a great job at minimizing that, which helps you maintain that volume. And then don't miss this, folks on the call. Kathryn's making those dials. She's not delegating her dials. She's maintaining those relationships. And Kathryn, I think that's enough to the sauce.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, and people, ultimately, I want them to send the loans to me, not my loan coordinator, because I start every loan. So I want them to send it to us, and that relationship is with me. So absolutely.
Hey, real quick, Kathryn, I've gotten 5 questions. I'm not going to go through all of them right now. But if you could just really break down what is winning the day for you? What is winning the week? Just break down how many calls, how many conversations, however you define winning the day and winning the week. Just break that down real quick for everybody.
Yeah, so for me, it involves coming in. I normally get here like 7:30-ish with coffee in hand. Oh, well, and I'm going to back up. So I wake up, I run or work out really like 5:30 because I think that's a huge part of winning my day, but that's a whole separate conversation. But, and then get to the office, 7:30-ish, spend some time in the morning kind of planning out my day, which is on my checklist, prepare for the day. And then work on getting loans started while it's a little bit quiet, then phone calls. I always try to take a break in the middle of the day because if I don't eat, I can't function. And then afternoon is generally client meetings, returning calls, that kind of stuff. So.
And how many calls do you have goals on how many people you talk to per week, how many realtors you personally meet with or you talk to over the phone? Any activity goals, call it sales activity goals we could call out?
For me, it's more time, so an hour a day. And the reason is sometimes I'll get on a phone call and it's 20 minutes, but it's a really good phone call. And so that I don't rush to the next thing and feel like I'm not making it, I'm more on the time factor than I am on the number, because if I'm focusing on the number, I want the voicemail, and really I'd rather connect with the person.
So, by the way, guys, takeaway, and again, there's no right or wrong. I've interviewed hundreds of loan officers. While there are some common themes that follow success, I've met with a lot of loan officers where it's all about numbers. It's like, how many people am I going to meet a week? How many people am I going to talk to a day? How many calls am I having? Notice in Kathryn's case, it's a block of time. And then here the intention she was around not making it about the numbers, because to her it's all about being present, all about personally connecting, which makes a lot of sense. In a small market, for you to have 20% of the realtors where you're the number one loan officer, yeah, quantity is important, but there's a pretty, it's defined. It's not getting bigger. You've got to either connect emotionally and personally or not. and you probably don't get a lot of second chances because there's probably not a lot of top agents moving in and out of the market. This is your market, and they either love you, trust you, and respect you, or they don't. So anyway, just make note, everyone, part of her success, it is the quality of the contact, and her goals are not, there's a lot of intention around that. So anyways, keep rolling. Sorry to take you off track. I know you've got a lot to share with us, but I think these are good takeaways.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And then also, I talked a little bit about this already, but involvement in the community, and really, I don't do it for the business, but it's really where people see the caring side of me, because that is a big part of me and my values in my life. So kind of the advice I have is find your passion and volunteer, whatever that is, whether that's, lacrosse, or it could be anything. I just threw that out because I know that's out there for some people, but it could be anything that you're passionate about.
Did you throw that out because I love lacrosse, or do you also?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I didn't know if you had.
Good job catching on.
All right. You just know you're on.
Yeah, that's right. So, and then, people know me as a giving person. Thing is that Michael has taught me a lot is you have to figure out when to say no and when to say yes. But I can't volunteer 24/7, but certainly it is a part of what I do. And it's important to be involved in the community in lots of different ways. So the other thing is I really have to be one person inside and outside of work. So people are like, oh, that's my work personality. And when I'm off, I'm this or that. Well, really, I have to be very consistent, and I am, and I always have been. But, obviously, I can't be out being crazy every single night, or those are going to be my clients. So it's one of those things where I am consistent in every day, every minute of every hour. I can't mess up in life or at work. So that's kind of just one of those things that it is part of the reality of a small town. And then the other thing is follow through on promises. People don't really, take excuses. You can't say, oh, great, my internet was down. Well, they would know because they have the same internet. So you can't ever lie. You can't ever do what you aren't going to do, because they will call you out on it. And that's just, again, one of those realities that we really take to heart. And accountability is always the key. And that's, again, why I love to have Michael around. So really, this is kind of important. Success without integrity is failure. So to me, that's kind of one of the things I live by. Integrity is huge. And not only integrity with others, but integrity with myself. And that's what's hard. It's like, oh, good job on the calls, but man, I always know I can push more and do more and push harder. So.
And real quick, Kathryn, integrity is a word that means different things to different people. What does integrity mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, for me, it's being true to who I am and being everything I can be for the people that come in my office and doing what I say I'm going to do.
Wow. So some people think integrity means being honest. Some people think it means doing the right thing, which, by the way, I think integrity means all of those things. But you said something that's, it's keeping your promises, and so it's, anyways, I know at Building Champions, Michael, integrity is something you guys spend a lot of time on. I know Daniel referred the book by Henry Cloud to me, I don't know how many years ago, but it was a really hard book to read because, I've always prided myself in being, integrity, and I think it's a word where people use it casually and easily, but, we don't always have the kind of integrity that we think we do. Any comments you want to have around that? Because, we're 30 minutes into this. We got another 30 minutes. And I think this is big, and I think this is the second time that I've interviewed Kathryn, and I think this is such a big part of her success is just her dedication to having integrity, not having excuses, doing what she says she's going to do. How would you like to take it from here as a coach? What can we pull out of Kathryn, and what should we share with the community?
I appreciate the way you set it up with a few examples of how people define it, and I'll take one of yours. I do often hear people tell me when I ask them to articulate their definition of integrity, they'll say, well, doing the right thing, and you pointed that one out. I'm going to add a phrase to this that I think is really important. It's doing the right thing even when no one is watching. And you know, in our industry, that's been a real gap that people that have been around as long as you and I and Kathyrn have been, we've seen the difference between what people think is doing the right thing when, well, you got to do what you got to do to get the job done, versus doing the right thing even when no one is watching. And I get the luxury in a one-on-one coaching environment to see what people are willing to do when no one is watching. And you're right on the mark, Dave. Kathyrn's integrity, she's not a perfect person. We're not going to tout her as someone who hasn't made a mistake. She'll be the first to tell you that happens because she's a humble person. But she has a commitment here, that follow through on her promises with no excuses. Those aren't words on a page to her. That helps define what she means to do the right thing even when no one is watching. And that's a challenge for all of us that I would encourage us to really wrestle with as leaders in this industry, because I look at the mortgage coach community as a cross-section of the true leadership of this industry. The people that invest this kind of time and money and energy into delivering this level of presentation and trust, these are generally the folks who are taking the lead in this industry. So if you're on this call, I doubt any of you would duck the word integrity. You all would say you embrace it. Just, you know, understand that doing the right thing when nobody's watching means making that extra call on a Thursday afternoon at 4:30 when you're tired, because you know that the results matter. It's all the little things. And Kathyrn, you're such a great example of someone who does all the little things.
No doubt. And I mean, we're getting close to where we want to talk about, you know, how you use Mortgage Coach and as a mortgage coach. But I would just jump in and knowing the value a family gets when they get a total cost analysis, I don't think there's any question it's a better way to deliver rates and fees. It's more valuable for the family that you serve. And one of the constant excuses I hear loan officers use is, oh, I don't have enough time. So folks, I would just, you know, we'll get into it in a little more detail in about 5 minutes, but giving a family a total cost analysis when they're getting into mortgage debt is doing the right thing. I mean, that is demonstrating integrity. So just a reminder to everybody on these calls, I mean, one of the reasons why I do these interviews and these calls is to help everybody on the call, you know, do your best practices with each and every client. And we're always trying to teach you new best practices and remind you to follow those. So again, a total cost analysis equals integrity. You know, I mean, it's one little piece to the puzzle, but it is a piece to the puzzle. So Kathyrn, back to you. Let's kind of conclude some slides, and then we'll get into a little bit more of a free flow conversation. Also, we've got about 6 people who have submitted questions, and I think we've already answered some of them, but if anybody has a question, we are going to have time for audience Q&A. Feel free to keep submitting them. Kathyrn?
Great, thanks. So this is just real quick on our process, and we'll kind of dive more into the mortgage coach piece of this a little bit. But so typically they call, my goal with that call is to set appointments and send online application. We meet with about 75% of our clients, and I have no idea where that ranks with the industry, but I would guess that's a little higher than a lot. But we're, you know, it's a small town, it's easy to drive here, so that's typically what we do. We receive the online application, prepare mortgage coach, and email confirmation. I try to meet with every single person I can. Those aren't ever delegated. We discuss options with that mortgage coach, pre-qual them. We've got a pre-qual follow-up system and tracking. We do handwritten notes, postcards, all that good stuff as well, phone calls, obviously. And then once they're under contract, we've got a video that that we produced here at my company, and that we send out that just kind of introduces them to the process, do a little bit of humor. We start the loan and update mortgage coach, and then I pass that on to our loan coordinator, so who's in my office is David. So that's just a real quick, and we can spend more time or less time on that later if we need to.
Yeah, well, no, I think it's a good slide. I mean, let's pass on, but let's plan on spending more time once you get done going through your slides. Let's kind of unpack that in more details. And folks, if you have questions around that, now is the time to submit them, because we're going to be in Q&A, and we're going to get into that in a minute. So if you have questions, let's be ready for it.
Okay. And And then, like I said earlier, you know, sharpening the tool is huge. So before I was always in a small market, you're really not exposed to really big producers, and so kind of once I started to reach outside of my community, the company I'm with, Bay, does a really good job of pulling us together as well. So that really started to open up my eyes to the potential of being able to do more units and more volume and more, just realize that those things are actually possible. So reaching out beyond my market was huge for me. Plus, I can bring strategies in other markets into my market. So that's been huge for me. And then coaching also helps that as well. I've also, in the past, mentored other LOs, which has helped with my production, certainly, hopefully theirs as well. And then, you know, traveling, going to those conferences, things like that is huge. Michael will bring up in a little bit the experience, which was also amazing. So for me, I want to push to excel nationally, not just dominate locally, because I think that, number one, it can be done. Yes, I'm compared to people in big towns, but I really want to do the best that I possibly can. So it's been good to surround myself with people doing better than I am. All right, so that's kind of the basics of what I do. I'm excited to kind of dive into some questions, and so I'll, Dave, let you do those, and Michael, jump in if you'd like.
Well, I'm going to let Michael ask the first question as your coach. You know, Michael, why don't you ask a question, and then I will jump in and, you know, start bringing in some audience questions and some other stuff. Go ahead, Michael.
Kathryn, I haven't seen any submittals, but here's one I would expect that someone out there is asking. You overviewed the process. What is your primary role in that process? In other words, you mentioned your team members, and you do have some folks, so maybe briefly describe the team, and then tell us what you see as your essential role in the process and where you defer to other folks that are highly talented to handle the other aspects of that process. How does it work?
Yeah, so for me, I really see my role as being everything before they find a place and everything after they close. So, so before they start, I'm doing, you know, the pre-qualing. We do pre-approval. Diving in and doing that follow-up, working with real estate agents to bring in leads, working in the community, working on those classes, kind of being the face, and setting the plan for the clients. All of that is on my side of it. Also, post-closing, follow-up phone calls, things like that happens after the loan is complete is all really on my end. So that's a big part of it. Once we start the loan, we've got I have a great loan coordinator who then takes over that loan process, is in touch with the clients and the real estate agents about how things are going in that loan process, and chases down bank deposit copies and all that fun stuff that makes me crazy. So that's really, I think, the part that is not my highest and best use, but getting the client in the door and making sure that they feel comfortable with what's coming up and that they've got a good plan in front of them is really my role.
Got it. Well, let's drill down a little bit deeper than into your role, knowing that. So if you're managing that relationship management, lead generation, and initial client consultation process, you talked about Mortgage Coach as a key component. So Edge as a tool provides lots of potential for you to present options to those clients. How do you like to present those options to your clients? What works well for you, because you're having those face-to-face engagements? It's different than some folks that might be delivering these through a mobile device remotely, and they're doing it over video. You actually get an opportunity to engage face-to-face. Tell us a little bit about that pre-qualification window and what your role looks like using tools like Mortgage Coach Edge in that time.
Yeah, so I'm lucky that most people will do that online app before they come in, and then we're just filling in a couple blanks on that, but I show them really concisely what their credit looks like, go through that with them, because a lot of people really don't get that when they go elsewhere. And then once we kind of have that drilled in and what loan options work, I already have that Mortgage Coach done in advance, so I pull that up on the screen, and I've got some big screens too in front of me. Sometimes I have to back up because they're a little large, but I can really show that mortgage coach options, and then we can modify that as they say, okay, what if we did this? What if we put more down? What if we, bought this place instead? So we can really use that as an interactive tool with them here in the office. And then we follow up and send out that link so that they've got access to that at home as well. And so that's kind of a good way for them to take home that information.
So let me make sure everybody's got it clear. So first of all, typically when you're driving, call it a mortgage coach experience, you're doing it in a couple venues. You're doing it, one, in big events, because you do first-time home buyer seminars, you do events. Also, 75% of the folks come into your office. I know you have 3 monitors, and then of course, remember everybody on this call, your clients also have monitors. They've got their mobile phone. So at least describe your process of how you're using Mortgage Coach within an in-office experience, and then I might add on a few things for best practices I see other loan officers do. Go ahead.
Yeah, so do you mean, so overall I've got the Mortgage Coach up on the screen closest to them, and then as we're kind of going through, I'll actually click the more info button and go through the payments, go through all of the individual pieces and parts of that and how we've come up with those, the program, and what it looks like over time. So really, we look at all of those pieces as they're figuring out, okay, great, this is what you can pre-qualify for, but they might be looking at a lower price range, so we may be modifying that as we're kind of going through that a little bit.
Got it. So everyone, just to make sure everybody connects the dots, I'm going to show a couple pictures. I mean, this is Jay Crowell in the Seattle market meeting with a family in his office. Sounds like this is a little more like, this is Kelly Zitlow's in-office experience where she's got a screen next to the family. As a best practice, everyone, more and more we're hearing Mortgage Coach loan officers have the family, have the total cost analysis on their mobile device. You might not start the conversation that way. You might kind of drive it all on your screen, but then more and more I'm hearing loan officers where they literally have the family download the app, have it on their app, so that now when the story changes throughout the purchase, the family knows, oh, I can just go and reference that. When the purchase price changes, boom. When interest rates change, boom. That story is just constantly updated so that, when the family is out and about, they always have access to that information. Kathryn, anything you want to add on to that, just that might be helpful?
I would say, because, we get the notifications when people look, I'm always surprised at what points in the loan process they look at it. So I've seen people pop into that, post-closing or when they get their CD, so it's amazing how they pop into it at very odd times. So I think, oh, phew, good thing I got that updated. So that's I think one of the fascinating things for me just to kind of watch is one of your clients poking in there. The other thing that is a little bit of a side note, but I had somebody who I noticed this morning I haven't talked to in maybe a month, and he popped into that thing today, so I'm going to give him a call because I know now it's top of mind. So it's just kind of using those tools a little bit to help us out.
So just a reminder for everybody, what she's referring to is she sent the TCA to a family a month ago. The family, the buyer looked at it today. She's going to follow up with them. So for everybody out there that's managing a big funnel of pre-approvals, it's a best practice. I hear it all the time from top performers that, if you've given the advice, the purchase options with the total cost analysis, and the family knows how to access it and use it, now you've got a great tool that as they're looking at it in the future, you can follow up. So it's a great follow-up tool to manage all your pre-approvals. Great strategy, Kathryn. So, by the way, so people are asking about videos. So I know all your families get a total cost analysis. How often are you using the video feature?
I am using it not enough, but I would say maybe 25%. And keep in mind, it's because a lot of them I do meet in person, so it depends on where I'm kind of meeting them. Where I think it's got a huge advantage for me is in the people I haven't met, or if I send one out in advance of the appointment. Those are also, they've already met me by the time they come into the office, so those are I think, two huge ways to use it.
Got it. Well, hey, I know one thing that we talked about before this session was you've got a total cost analysis that you've shared. Kathyrn, I'm going to show it on the screen right now. So this is my mobile app. This is Kathryn's TCA, total cost. Oops, where'd it go? Just one second. Boom, there it is. So again, everyone, the reminder is it's a great educational tool, and I do recommend everyone, even if you're in an in-office experience, to get the client understanding how this works so that they're following along, they understand their options, they understand that you can update this, and then, even remind them that they can share it. If you're meeting with a husband and wife and they want to share it with someone else, there's a share button. So the more you can get them interacting with your interactive mortgage experience and get them understanding that they can share it to other stakeholders that are helping them with the advice, the better. Great follow-up tool and a great way to engage and educate the family. So Kathyrn, I know you're going to add a video. I want to remind everybody, you can add a video on your mobile device. So if you click on this little profile in the upper right-hand corner, so if I click on that from my mobile phone, you can actually log into the back. This is Edge login. With your same username and information, you can log in. And Kathyrn, you could go to that specific client, click on the client in the back end, you can add a total cost analysis and add a video to it. So right there, hey everyone, it's as simple as clicking on this video feature and a view report feature. By the way, not that we're announcing it right now, but the ability to add a TCA and edit it on your mobile device is very close to being launched. We're actually testing this right now with beta users, but you will be able to actually add and edit a TCA on your mobile phone real soon. So a little sneak peek for everybody. Kathyrn, any quick questions or comments on that? I promised to show you how to do this. You feel like you know how to add a video now on your mobile phone?
Yep, thanks for doing that. Yeah, I'm still in the 2000s doing it with the webcam. One thing I just wanted to point out, this is the mortgage coach scenario that I use for the class, one of the classes that I teach, which shows that difference between FHA, conventional, USDA. So one of the thoughts that Dave and I were talking about, I think last week, was that attaching a video to this, saying, hey, thanks for coming to the class. Here's the scenario worksheet we went through when you attended the class. Just wanted you to have the link in case you needed it down the road. And so something like that to follow up quickly with them is that's specifically what this is for. So one thing I like about Mortgage Coach is we can use it outside of just the client arena. I can really use it with agents to say, hey, here's a way that someone says, oh, I don't have a down payment. Great, we can use USDA, or great, here's why it doesn't make sense to do this kind of loan versus that loan. So this is really a good teaching tool when I'm teaching those CE classes.
Beautiful. So folks, we're going to put a link to this, in our, as everybody knows, we record all of these interviews, and we put those in our YouTube page. Within the description of that YouTube, we're going to put a link to Kathryn's TCA, and she's going to add a video to it. So think of it as an educational gift for everybody on this call. Also, I want to get to some of the Q&A that's coming through. So by the way, Rick Cardinelli just did a shout out, loving the new ability to edit TCAs. By the way, if there is anyone on this call that has done more than 100 total cost analysis and you would like to be considered for our beta and have this feature activated for you, feel free to tell me you would love to be a beta user. Again, you have had to create at least 100 Mortgage Coach total cost analysis to qualify. So please make sure you've done that. So Kathyrn, people are also asking about that video that you forward out that's kind of educational, and you mentioned it's kind of humorous. Is that something you're willing to share after the call?
Yep, absolutely. Just don't make fun of me too much, and I'm good to go. Yeah.
All right. We'll put a link to that also in here. I'll also put a link to some of these. We promoted this on our Facebook page, so I'll also put links in the comment sections of our Facebook page for folks. So by the way, I got a question here from Ann Carter. When you meet with your client, is it usually during normal business hours?
Yes, almost. I'm trying to think of a time I didn't meet during normal business hours, and I can't, in person, I can't tell you I've done one in the last 2 years at least.
Okay. So she's definitely created some sandbox and some boundaries around when she'll meet with people, and she's driving clients into those windows of opportunity. Now, some of you ask questions like, how many calls do you make per week? You know, I think Kathyrn answered that. To her, it's about quality, not quantity, and so she time blocks. I'm going to spend an hour a day prospecting and reaching out to realtors. If you do have more questions around our activity, you got to repost those, because I'm not gonna get into the details of the way these questions are asked. So if you want more color around her activity, repost a question. A few of you early in the call made comments on how cash is a big competitor in your market. Tim, thanks for shout out around cash is a big competitor in Honolulu. Also, David Scott mentioned that cash is a big competitor in the areas of Florida that he lives. I would love, Kathyrn, would you mind sharing a total cost analysis that's kind of a loan versus cash TCA post-call? Is that something you wouldn't mind sharing with the community?
Yep, I can absolutely do that.
Yeah,
and then
oh, go ahead.
And one thing I just wanted to add too is one thing that's huge in any market is take advantage of when you see anybody. So above and beyond calls, if you see somebody out and about, take advantage of that time and say, hey, did you get that email I sent? Or hey, it's great to see you. How's your family? So just wanted to bring that up because in that number of calls per day, really that's one of the more important pieces of that. So, but yeah, I'll also get out that cash versus loan TCA.
Yeah, and if anybody else has a cash versus a loan, you know, cash versus mortgage total cost analysis, email it to me at Dave@mortgagecoach. I've seen loan officers over the years do a really effective job of telling that story and helping the family make an informed decision. I think this call is a great time to, you know, re-engage. Do know that in our Thursday call, every Thursday we're doing Q&A. I'll make sure the team is going to talk about how to do that. Also want to remind everybody, you know, we have videos in our YouTube page and our support that, you know, how to do cash versus mortgage. I know that's something that we cover. So, you know, hopefully you bring that into the call. So there are some other questions that have come in, but before I get to those, I think a couple takeaways I'd like to showcase, and then also, Michael, bring you back in. I love what you said, Michael, you know, do the right thing even when no one's watching. Everybody on this call, where do you stack up? Where can you improve? Especially when it comes to your borrower experience. You know, while there's a lot of reasons why Kathyrn is so successful that I think it's pretty obvious to everyone, I think this, you know, follow through on your promises, no excuse. I know that's easy, you know, and I think most successful mortgage professionals do this. And I even think when it comes to promises you make around the transaction, I think most mortgage professionals do this. But where I see a lot of professionals miss it are things like a total cost analysis, where the family deserves it, you know it's a best practice. In some cases, it's even a service standard that you have, but yet there's families that don't get a total cost analysis. So I would just push everyone, you know, re-engage in your service standards, re-engage in the things that you don't have to do. It's just that when you do them, the family gets a better experience, you get a better conversion ratio, you get more referrals, everything is magic. So, Michael, we're about 7 minutes left in the call. There were a number of questions around Kathryn's events and just getting a little more color and description around the events that she does. But before we close on that, anything you want to kind of shine a light on or focus on in these last 2 minutes of the call?
Well, I'd like to keep the focus on Kathyrn because obviously, I mean, the numbers pan this out, right? She's closing incredible volume in a market that mathematically most people would say wow to. So there's a lot we can learn from Kathyrn. I want to keep the focus on her. But Dave, you know this. Kathyrn, you know this as well. The last 2 years, I've really been touting a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And one of the things from that book that that I ask clients regularly is, how can you deliver more value to more people in less time? And I hope what everybody's seen on today's call is a great example of how Kathyrn is doing that. And Mortgage Coach Edge is a key ingredient in her success formula. It's not a silver bullet, but it's one of the key ingredients that allow her to deliver more value to more people in less time. And when I say less time, 75% of those folks are sitting down with her face to face. And I can at least tell you from personal experience, Kathyrn does not let that become an excuse for not living her definition of a balanced life. So just know that, that I think what we've heard today holds a lot of nuggets. I heard about measuring quality conversations over the number of calls. I heard about engaging your community, truly understanding the network of relationships in your community, and being active and present in it. I heard her tell us about the art of saying no and the value of boundaries. And so, Dave, lots of great nuggets here. I look forward to reviewing the call later, as I hope most of the folks on this call get to do as well.
All right.
And hey, Michael, I want to bring up, too, that as far as getting clear on integrity, going to that, the experience that's coming up in the fall is huge. So if you haven't really sat down with yourself to go through life plan, business plan, all that stuff, Michael can bring up the experience here real quick.
Yeah, Dave, I see you pulling that slide up. And Kathyrn, you're gracious to promote what we do. Dave, I met you at the experience back in 2009. Kathyrn, you and I spent time together working on those aspects of your plan last year. And Dave, I think you're even coming back this year. We've got a great opportunity for folks to come and really work on the key ingredients to their plan, defining their version of balance. And it's not just their ability to life plan, it's their ability to translate that into a business vision that they can execute on. And we're bringing in a speaker. I saw the clip there on the screen, a gentleman named Dallas Seavey. I'm going to tell you up front, you're going to Google his name and find out that this is a 4-time Iditarod champion, and your question is going to be, what exactly can I learn for my business from a dog musher? And I've got to tell you, hands down, this is the single best speaker I have ever heard on taking business vision into winning. So please, if you want to win, come spend some time with us and hear from Dallas Seavey at the experience.
Love it. Well, I have been to the experience 3 times. I have it on my schedule to come out again, September 14th through 15th. It's a $2,000 investment. I mean, it's a big investment of time and money, but if you really want to go deep on life planning, it's a place to do it. You know, there's a lot of things I love about the event, but I really think the thing I love most is that, you know, you go to events and usually you're just fire hosed with ideas, and you almost need to come home and have a vacation from your experience. You know, the experience, you know, is really focused around getting clear on integrity to you, getting clear on what life balance means to you, doing it around people that are also like-minded and they're there to do the same thing, and then having the personal space to both learn how to do this life planning better, to work on your life plan, and to personally reflect. So I love the amount of space. I love the venue. I hope to see a number of Mortgage Coach members there. So, you know, Kathyrn, thanks for, you know, reminding us to remind everybody about that amazing event, because it really is special. Hope to see many of you there. Let's close on your events, you know, because there's a number of people that were asking about, hey, what are you doing there? If you wouldn't mind just describing it quickly, and if there's any other online resources on your website that people can learn more about what you're doing, tell us what we could do to be better educators within live events within our communities. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we've, part of what makes our job easier is making sure that our agents are well trained and well educated in what they're doing and what we're doing. So we provide these CE classes, just got state approval to do those, which they are specific in what they require. Then just get that information out to the agents as to when we're doing them. It's not hard to execute. It sounds hard, but it's not. Just putting together the outlines and people will show up. So there's, you know, as we've kind of grown, we've polled agents, okay, great, what education would be helpful for you. So we continue to kind of build our classes as we move forward in, in the markets and figure out, oh yeah, there's a need for this type of education. So we hold them in a place that's kind of neutral location and really just try to hammer them for about an hour, because that's about all they can handle on whatever subject they've come for, whether that be VA, FHA, USDA, whatever kind of is the topic of the day.
I love that strategy. I know Kelly Zitlow does something similar. There's a number of mortgage coach leaders that have really not just positioned themselves as teachers in the community, but they are teachers. I think I'd love to do another call. Would you love to come back? And I'd like to interview maybe 3 or 4 mortgage coach professionals that are also teachers. Would you be up to being part of that panel, Kathryn?
Absolutely, I'd love to. Thanks.
All right. So everybody on this call, stay tuned. Sometime in the next 60 days, I will figure out who to invite to that. If you or a mortgage coach that is doing education like this in the local community and is super successful, either reach out to me personally or feel free to recommend someone that I invite to this panel. I know right now I'm going to invite Kelly Zitlow. I know I'm going to invite you. And I'd like to invite 1 or 2 more folks, but I'll figure out who to do it. I do want to remind people that we are training every single day of the week. Monday is for beginners. If you've done less than 20 TCAs, total cost analysis. Every Tuesday, I'm interviewing someone amazing. Tomorrow and every single Wednesday, we are teaching loan officers how to use their mobile devices to be better teachers, to be better salespeople, just to be more successful. So our Wednesday class is amazing. Don't miss it. It's a workshop every single Wednesday at 11. On Thursday, we're just answering questions. And I'm going to make sure on this Thursday's training, we cover cash versus mortgage. We talk about rent versus own, and anything else you want to talk about. And literally every day of the week, we're doing the Mortgage Coach University. So please connect with us on our Facebook page, our LinkedIn page, and the recording of this will be on our YouTube page within a couple hours. So everyone, thanks for investing time to join us today. Kathryn, thank you for the prep. Thank you for an awesome call. Kind of any last words of wisdom as we wrap up the call?
Nope, just what I tell everyone is be the best you can be, and that's going to be amazing.
All right. So let us know what you thought of today's call on a scale of good to great. Obviously, if you are a guest on this call and you want to learn more about Mortgage Coach, click the last option. I'd like to get a demo and learn more. Have an awesome week, everybody. Michael, thank you for the time you invested here, and I'm sure I'll be talking to both you and Kathryn someday soon. And I'll see you both at the experience, or at least see one of you at the experience. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.